So we're here to ask, are you who you say you are? Do you deliver on the promise that you make to job seekers? Do you deliver on that promise that your website tells, right? Do you deliver on the promise that you make when job seekers are going through the interview process? So we're really here to ask, are you truly expressing your authentic selves to the job seeker? Because that's a promise that you're making and that they expect to be delivered on throughout their process into their employee experience, should they make it, right? And that is what makes experience. So companies typically, they create websites, and some often fall into this facade of a trendy, fancy website, but maybe their company personality doesn't really match that. Maybe they had a marketing company come in and create something that really isn't truly authentic to who they are. Hopefully they did, but so people apply and they get excited, and then maybe there's a lack of communication. So I say all of those things because I started out in higher ed, and that's really what we did. We looked at admissions processes at colleges and universities, and we asked those questions. Do you have a fancy admissions website? Actually, I should ask, is anyone going through the college admissions process with a child right now or recently? Yeah. You're going to hear some of these. You're going to recognize some of this. So is that website really authentic and representative to who they are? You might go on a campus tour and you hear the same bad jokes in the library, right? And that's fine. Sometimes scripted things are fine, but let's find some authentic experiences that the college-seeking student can really relate to or get a real understanding of the college. Is it hard to navigate their website? Can you find the information? So all of these things I experienced in a latter part of my life, and I went into recruitment and staffing and said, we got to ask the same questions. And I'm sure all of you have asked some of those same questions too in your own offices. For a job seeker, is it hard to find the information for your job? Is your website, your career site, really representative of who you are as a company? So there's a lot of questions and kind of auditing that we can do to really answer this question. Are you who you say you are? So as a company and as an office, typically most of you, I'm sure, are in HR, you are focusing on being a human company and focusing on caring about the people and giving them an authentic experience. And truly what it really means is setting them up for success as a job seeker, but then setting them up for success as an employee. So I hope what this does, this presentation, gives you some just small tips that you can take home. Maybe today, think about it, and then next week you implement some just really small incremental things that you can do, right? Or there could be some larger conversations, some cross-functional conversations, some meetings with other departments to really start the right conversations to start representing who you truly are as a company. Please also ask questions throughout. Don't save them for the end. Ask them throughout. I want this to be a discussion. I want idea sharing. If I don't know the answer, I guarantee there's someone in this room who can give you the right idea or answer the question for you. All right, so let's have a good sharing conversation. All right, so you all probably joined HR or a similar field. Because you wanted to keep the human in human resources. You care about people, right? Companies often get lost in systems. We have a lot of systems, HR systems, different systems, and those systems typically make us better, faster, more efficient, which is great. Those are good tools to have. We want to be better, faster, efficient. But we also have to take a look at that and say, how is that affecting the human experience? How is that affecting our job seekers, everyone that's involved in the process? Are we paying attention to the job seeker audience? Not only our systems, but also outsourcing. So I've talked with a few of you already today about this. So we might outsource some recruitment marketing, right? You might outsource your jobs to a job board or job posting on external sites. You might use a recruitment and staffing firm. And when we do that, which is great to help us. When we do that, though, sometimes we lose ownership, right? But you don't have to. You have the tools and you can have the conversations to take some of that ownership back, or give the people and the other companies that you're outsourcing to or using as third parties, to inform them, give them all the tools they need to actually deliver on who you are. So if you're working with a staffing firm, for example, arm them with all the tools and information to talk about your company culture. Have conversations with them before they start working your jobs about what the expectation is of employees that come to work for you. What is your culture like? Everything that there is to know about your organization. Give them those tools and take some of that ownership back, and really make it a collaboration instead of giving someone else the work to do or the marketing to do for you. So there's a lot of ways that you can, again, take a look at that human experience and make sure that the systems and your partnerships are working in collaboration with you. And we're going to talk a lot more about websites and tools and whatnot as we get into the presentation. We also have to keep in mind that everything that happens within your company is what creates an experience. And that experience is what your employer brand is, and that is what defines you in the marketplace. When you create a good experience and people start to talk about that, they say, yep, my company delivers on what they said that they would be, who they said they would be. People start to share that, and that gets out to the marketplace. So employer brand is really, obviously, important, and I think all of you know that. All right, so where does that journey typically start? Typically, it starts digitally. Love it. First click, hopefully, but then let's keep that love going, right? So let's review some metrics here, some statistics. 47% of candidates say that employees do a good job of setting expectations in terms of communication at the beginning of a hiring interaction. So we'll go through this again. 47%, so less than half percent of candidates say that employers do a good job of setting expectations in terms of communication at the beginning of a hiring interaction. So let's stop. There's room for improvement. That's less than half people are saying, we need more information. Expectations are not met. I don't know what to expect. So first of all, we'll get into this, but we can do a better job there. 89% listed the company career site as an important tool in obtaining key information. So we know that almost all of our job seekers have a tool, they know it exists, and they're gonna use it. So let's audit and let's look at our career site and how people get to our career site. We'll talk about that in a minute too. 45% agree that candidates can tell what a company will be like from their career site. So this is where we stop and we ask, is our career site actually representative of our company? Do we have an environment that isn't being portrayed on our career site? That's the opposite, right? So we know we need a career site. We know now it needs to be representative of who we are, because people are going to use it and they're going to seek information there. 73% of people say the job process is one of the most stressful things in life. All right, so think back to your 10-year-old self, going to your first day of school. What are some of those things that you're asking? What are you feeling? Where's my classroom? What else? Who am I going to sit next to? Teacher. Who's my teacher? What do they look like? Can I spot them? Have I met them yet? What's for lunch? That's important. Is someone going to sit with me? Am I going to make friends? Yeah. Do I know people? What else? How am I going to get there? Am I riding a bus, right? Am I going with a friend? There's a lot of emotions, a lot of unknowns, a lot of nerves, a lot of things that we're wondering about. And we need information. So think now to your first day at a new job. Same emotions. Am I going to make friends? Do I know people there? Maybe someone from your town that lives close to you also works with you, and they're going to be in the same office. You didn't know that. School, anybody from your college, university, a school, anything, high school. Do I know who my manager is? Do I know what they look like so I can spot them when I'm coming into the office? All of these same emotions and questions we have from the 10-year-old self to yourself today when you walk into your first day. So we have to remember that. We have the same emotions, we just probably are a little better at hiding them nowadays. So to me, all of this is about setting expectations and then delivering on that. All right, so here's where we can start to talk cross-functionally across our organization. We can utilize our colleagues in other areas and really start to look holistically at the process. So part of recruiting, there is a foundation of sales there. So what I encourage you to do is go to your sales team and ask them about how they approach customer acquisition. What story are they telling when they're going out and talking to new potential clients? That story is probably the same story that we're telling or should be telling on the recruitment side, right? Ask them what works for you. What materials, just get a sense of what materials they're putting out there in the world as far as sales go. Again, some of those same values you have as a company that they're telling potential clients might be the same values that you want to tell our potential job seekers, right? So talk to your sales team, not only for information for yourself, but to start conversations across the organization. I think that's one of the key things, no matter what office and what department you're in, talk across the lines, right? With marketing, that's another department that you can start to form collaborative relationships with. Your marketing team is probably tracking on Google Analytics or some kind of marketing platform how people get to your website. So go out there. Let's get a meeting together. Let's have a conversation. Hey, marketing, ask them, how do people get to our website? Right? So you can start to see maybe where there's potential job seekers out there. How do they get and how long do they stay on our career site or some of your web pages surrounding HR and your job postings? Start getting a sense of where people are coming from, where they're going on your website, where they're going that's in relation to what what you need to put out in the world for job seekers. I think also you can start to look at the sales and marketing funnel. And so if you have been in sales or marketing or have connections or colleagues that do, you know that there's different stages. And throughout sales and marketing, they're pushing people through these stages. But what they're also doing is finding when people are falling off. So take that strategy and apply it to recruitment. When you have job openings, for example, you know, where are candidates falling off? Do you have people who no-show? Do you have people who decide to revoke their application? Why is that, and what stages is that? Because there might be an opportunity for that person in a different way to engage them and keep them close to your company for maybe a future job opening. So build your own recruitment and HR funnel, and then that only allows you to identify the gaps, see where people are falling off, and identify opportunities. Where can we create opportunities for people to still stay engaged with us? So sales and marketing, great contacts to have, start those conversations. We also want to set expectations on the application, right? So create transparency around what it takes to apply for a job at your company. Again, people just want information. So is it a quick resume upload? Does it take 5 minutes? Resume, cover letter, and maybe a few fields, right? Great, I can do that on my lunch break or, if I'm just in between chores and stuff at home. Or is this a longer process? You have several uploads, you have a portal to complete, maybe some credentials to upload. If that's the case and it takes 30 minutes, tell people, because then they can say, okay, I'm gonna do this tonight at 9 o'clock when my kids go to bed. I'll save that for later. I'm not going to start something and then fall off, right? I can think about everything I need. I can gather the materials, and it's a smooth process. So just informing people, what does it take to apply? If you can't put it on a website, put it in the job posting and the job description. If you're collaborating with other people, make sure your recruiters, for example, know what the whole process is, that everything that you're going to need in order to successfully and accurately get that person through your openings. Also, same thing with with providing a preview of what happens next. So once someone applies, what you can do is say, okay, now there are going to be some things that you can expect if we accept your application. So an automated email is fine, right? If they apply, you say, I'm going to get back to you. Someone from our office or this person is going to get back to you within X amount of time. But then you have to deliver on that, right? So even if it's 72 hours, great. If it's a week, that's fine too. But telling people what to expect so they know they're not waiting, they're not calling your office, they know what the expectation is. You can also then say, if your application is accepted, you're going to have a pre-screen with this person or this department or this office. If you pass that pre-screen, you're going to have an interview with the hiring manager. And if you pass that, then you're going to meet with leadership. If you can't say a specific person, like a director of so-and-so office, you can say with leadership. So that way they know exactly what the timeline is and exactly who they're going to be meeting with, so they can appropriately prepare. And again, it's just setting expectations. All right, so I have another example with videos, if you can start to include videos in any of your strategies. One of our companies, they do a candidate experience video. I was talking to some other people about this earlier, where and again, you have to authentically match the video to your company, right? But create some videos so people can click on that. They can go and seek that information later. They can watch it again. It's not just one email. They're used to getting text and reading things. But you can go to that later. You can rewatch it about that experience. You can create a video about the interview processes, right, that they're going to go through. You can show faces, or about the employee experience. So they submit their application, they know what the next steps are. Now let me look into the company. So create some employee experience videos, again, keeping them authentic to you. You probably don't want to do a fun, trendy, crazy video if you're a more professional office, right? But it's just definitely a way to showcase people what to expect and who you are. All right, so this is probably my favorite part of evaluating all of your processes. So think about a driveway to driveway experience. This is kind of an audit of your experience, putting yourself in your candidate's shoes. So think about maybe you're going to, I don't want to bring college football into this because it's Texas and I'm from Big Ten, so I'm not getting into the Texas football debate. So imagine you're going to an NFL game or something like that, right? How do you get your tickets? Walk through the process. You drive all the way there. Highway traffic's crazy. What time should you leave? What time does the game start? You got to plan all that stuff ahead of time. You park. What is parking like? Is it a 15-minute walk or a 5-minute walk from parking to the line for security? What's security like? What are you doing while you're waiting in line for security? Are there experiences along the way? Is there information, just like when you go to the airport, they have information exactly the things that you're allowed to take, how many ounces of things you're allowed to have in your bag, right? So look at that whole process. I think college admissions, again, that's kind of where I started and have this experience. So I think about that. When you're looking for a campus tour, where do you sign up? How do you get to the admissions website? Or is it on the front page of the university website? Let's see. You sign up. What happens now? Do you get a confirmation? Same thing for an interview. Do you get any kind of confirmations? When you get there, do you know where to park? It's really hard to navigate college campuses. So all of these things. So I want you to do the same thing. I want you to open an incognito browser if you have like Google Chrome, so it doesn't know where you are. It's not tracking your stuff. It doesn't pull in other things. So you get a true experience of somebody else, right? So open your browser, search for an open job that you know you have posted. How far down in your Google results is that? And then work with marketing to figure out how you can fix that. When you find it, how many clicks do you have to get through to actually upload your resume? You know, If you go onto your main website, how do people find your careers site? Typically, it's at the bottom of your website in a careers site link. If you can't bring that forward or to the top of your page or make it a little bit easier, maybe you can work with marketing and IT to have a pop-up on your webpage that says, hey, we'd love for you to join us. Come browse some of our opportunities. So experience that digital experience for yourself. Then once you get there, actually submit an application. See what comes through afterwards. What kind of follow-up do you get? What does that look like in different internet browsers or different email servers? Send one to your Gmail, send one to your Yahoo, your work one. Evaluate what that looks like. You can then have someone in your organization, a colleague, maybe do a rejection for you. What does that rejection feel like, right? And what's the next steps? If you're rejected from the job, are there other opportunities? What other ways can people explore? In that, if it's a rejection email, for example, do you have links for them to continue the relationship, to look for more jobs in the future? Maybe that just simply wasn't the right fit for them. So take a holistic approach, go through, audit, have different colleagues audit, and then come together and give each other feedback. Where you see opportunities, where something didn't feel right, where something was really hard to navigate to. So the full audit, that actually can be a really fun experience. If you break it up into chunks and say, okay, everybody go submit something else, and people make funny names, and you can make it fun. But that's really where you're gonna find for your company the opportunities and the gaps. Okay, so I actually have a really good example. I'm gonna pull out my phone here. Hyatt, this hotel, amazing job in setting expectations. So, anyone staying at the hotel last night or tonight? Okay, did anyone get a text message from Nick? Guest relations manager, I think it was. All right, so I'm gonna read this to you. You probably all got the same text, which is fine, but we all kind of maybe felt a little special when we got it, or said, okay, that's kind of neat. So it says, good afternoon, Lindsay Shirk. This is Nick Colbert, the guest experience manager at Hyatt Regency Austin. I'd like to personally welcome you to our hotel. The team looks forward to your arrival tomorrow. If I can help prior or during your stay, please text me. Safe travels, we'll see you soon. So you can text this person back, right? Then I got an email. It said, hey, you can check in online, just like airlines now. You can check in right from your phone. That's great. I could pick my check-in time, so you get a little bit of ownership. So let me pull this up. So you could pick your check-in time. If it was earlier than the standard time, it told you that's earlier than our standard time, we'll try to accommodate you, right? But not guaranteed. And then after that, the next screen said, there's a little pop-up, and it says, you will be notified when your room is ready. An email will be sent once your room is ready. Enjoy your stay. And then they point you to their app. I'm like, okay, well, now I know I'm going to get an email when my room is ready. That's kind of cool. Next day, greetings from the Hyatt Regency Austin. We hope everything in your guest room and bathroom are clean and working as expected, and your arrival experience met your expectations. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to ensure you have a comfortable stay. I didn't get in on time, so I said, you know what, I'm gonna try this out. So I sent a text to that same message, and I said, hey, I was slated for a 4 p.m. check-in. Due to travel delays, I'm not gonna get there till 7:30, which actually, travel delays was, I had some dinner plans with my colleagues, and they weren't going to get me back to the hotel earlier. So just letting you know, they responded. Now, again, all of this could have been automated, and that's fine with me, but I know that there's a place for this communication. And they said, no worries. I have noted your arrival time. Have a safe trip coming in. We'll see you later today. And then today, they sent me another text message. I was checking out today. Hope you enjoyed your stay. For your convenience, we offer express checkout. When you have vacated your guest room, text us your room number and your email address. We'll email your receipt. We also ensure you have been enrolled in the loyalties, blah, 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 safe travels. Thank you again for choosing Hyatt Regency Austin. So first of all, that was an unexpected level of service. It met my needs. It gave me information ahead of time. It gave me some ownership in the process, check-in, right? So think about that. How can you give some maybe ownership to the candidate experience? Maybe you send out, a list of times or a Calendly link if anyone uses Calendly. Yeah, it's a great tool that your hiring managers, your recruiters, whoever's working with candidates, they can connect their calendar, or you can create a specific calendar so that you can send that link and people select a time. So you're giving them some ownership if that's possible in your process. And the other thing was, it met the needs the way I was communicating. We all text, right? We're all on our phones.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say that. I think that like when I started out, it felt like too casual to kind of send that type of communication. But I think the longer this goes on, like the more that I do use text
Yeah.
in talking to candidates. But I use, it just depends on I think it depends on the type of position still in my mind. And I wonder what you think, or what, research you've seen about like candidate experience. Are people wanting to be texted more? I mean, certainly I would rather be texted.
Yeah, I think job seekers a lot of times use their personal accounts, which are often spammed, which might be also why you don't hear back from the candidate when you send them a request for an interview, right? And you say, hey, can you meet at 3:30 on Thursday? And it's Wednesday at 4 p.m. and you still haven't heard. Might be because it's in their email, right? And it's lost. So I think that's an added level, but I think what you can also do is you can have people opt in. So when they submit an application, would you like to be, or is that okay with you, right? So people can, again, have some ownership in their communication preferences, or maybe it's just a simple question while you're on the phone with them. Would you prefer me to email you this, call you, or text you? Are you fine with texting? I think that's a great point, though. For this purpose, we're all traveling, so we might not have service or whatnot, so it was nice to get that. Yeah, more.
On that question, we actually added recruiting, I don't remember the name, but a text option to our ATS just
Yeah.
recently. And we're in student housing, so our demographic only wants text.
Yeah.
If you call them, they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it
They don't
has made
answer.
a tremendous difference, and if you can get it to work with your ATS, you can still keep those correspondence, which was our biggest concern, is losing that interaction in the ATS.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to recap that just for audio, that's a great point. So for your audience, obviously knowing how they like to communicate. So college age students, they don't want a phone call, they want a text message. But also if there's options within your systems that are working for you to include how you communicate or send certain notifications, if you can work with the system or create some kind of system that it's automatic, you click what kind of communication goes out, I think that's good. If you have any kind of HR system or marketing system or any kind of CRM that you use, creating sequences or workflows that send out automated things, you could also choose, one, you can have a person opt in to what kind of communication preferences, and then you have a sequence depending on what type of communication they prefer. So you have an email one for people who prefer email, and then also maybe condense it and make it appropriate for text for people who want text. And again, if that's not in your purview, or that's not something that you're privy to creating, work with a marketing team or see who in your organization or department can help with that. So it's all about figuring out what's going to work for your people. Any other ideas or questions about that? Yeah.
I was gonna say, I work for the state, and so our ATS is very limited.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of thinking now, like, we don't have the ability to do some of those core things, but we can maybe add like a supplemental question at the end of the application that says, how do you want to receive communications? What's the best form? Even like, hey, what's the best day to interview for you? So like, you're kind of capturing that at the front end of it as well.
Yeah, capturing any information you can capture at the front end about preferences is great, because again, you're going to set expectations based on what they told you they expected. Yeah.
I guess the only downside is, and that all seems like what something, like you said, the younger generation
Yeah.
wants to be texted, but I don't want to have that on my phone, all those texts, like from candidates, 2 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, I don't know, I
Yeah.
would like to just keep
I 100% agree with that. I didn't want to cut someone off, so I'm going to come back to this. Okay, so the concern there is from the other side of the desk, keeping your personal and work-life balance, right? You don't want to have your personal cell phone, ask someone responding. Nick from Hyatt probably doesn't have that on his personal cell phone. It's probably an automated system. I know that they're, depending on your organization, obviously, if you have any kind of soft phone functions where, so for example, at job.com, we have RingCentral, Fuse, there's a ton of companies out there where that's our business phone. And so it's an app on my phone. And instead of texting in my messages, I go to the app, and you can still text, you can still call, but it is separated a little bit, and you can turn off those notifications. And you could also, what I would say, is have some kind of automated response to people saying, this is outside of my social, or this is, my personal hours. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. So again, kind of setting expectations. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like what you just said, we've started doing that just to show people that we do respect your time after hours, and that, we put a little message of like, these are our boundaries and we hope you share yours with us.
I love that. I'm going to repeat that. These are our boundaries. I hope you, or what was that?
Just, these are our boundaries, like our working hours, and we look forward to learning yours when you join the team.
Yeah, just respecting boundaries and saying, hey, these are our boundaries. We'll respect yours as well. And I think there's a lot of professional level communication, but you can bring it down to just, we're humans. You have kids and dinner and to get ready, or a work event, or a hobby. We do too, right? And so you can make it a little bit more personable as far as your communication goes, and a little bit more lighthearted sometimes. All good. All good. Okay, great. So I'm going to keep going here. So before I go on, has anyone done an audit of any of those processes? I'm just curious. I see some head nods and I see some no's too. Okay, that is probably the place I would start, is just end-to-end for your job seeker, and then end-to-end for pre-onboarding and onboarding, and then end-to-end, of course, for your employee experience, which is a bigger fish to fry. All right, so the person's hired, now what? So pre-onboarding, in our definition here, is from the time your offer letter gets signed to the first day of work. So that's what I'm focusing on here. Typically, we call this the dead zone, the dead period, because they've had some really great communication, consistent communication throughout their hiring process, and then it's silent. That's the dead zone. So we want to avoid the dead zone. So 50% of employees say receiving organized, relevant, and well-timed content is the most important aspect of the onboarding process. So those three key words: relevant, well-timed, organized. So I just want to focus on that. So this pre-boarding, or this dead zone, is really your opportunity to build momentum, get people excited. So what are they doing while they wait? You could be sending them information about your culture. You could be sending them and setting up an expectation of what your mission and your vision and your values are. You could be sending those employee experience videos, pictures of your office, so they get an understanding. They know what their classroom looks like, right? Their office looks like. You could send them an itinerary for their first day. And you could send it ahead of time as much as you can if it's prepared and ready. But I think what is important here is saying, hey, we're thinking of you in this time when there really isn't much else to do, right? And people don't do that. Not as often as we should, right? You could talk about parking. So especially if you work at a manufacturing park, right? Buildings all look the same. There's not a lot of logos. Google doesn't know where to send people. Start sending them instructions. They want to prepare. You don't want to get parking and directions the day before your first day, because likely you're dealing with a lot of other things. You're getting your outfit ready. You're preparing everything you need. So send them parking and directions ahead of time. What are the lunch plans? Business card proof. Show them that they're actually an employee already. If you have whoever does business cards and whatnot at your organization, start that process a little bit earlier and just send them a picture of it. and they can say, wow, I feel like an employee already. Email, what is their email going to be? Some IT, you have some of your IT stuff set up ahead of time, but if you're not, tell them what their email is going to be. They can start making some changes ahead of time. When they come and they're going to check in, who are they going to check in with and where? And if that person isn't there, maybe they went to the restroom, then what? Sit in our lobby and wait. We'll be right there. But start giving them as much information during this time as you can, because they're just sitting there and waiting. So it's a huge opportunity. It's preparing them. And here's the other thing. It doesn't have to be personalized, but you can personalize it to the job type. So you can have templated emails and templated communication for one type of job versus another. That way you're not rewriting and reinventing the wheel each time. All right, so week 1 comes. Take as many pictures as you can and start. This is where I want to share as many ideas as possible. All right, so you've done the work. You got them excited. Everybody's agreed. The job's coming. First day's coming. They get there. Don't let them fall into, you're just another one of our 1,000 employees or 300 employees or 10,000 employees, right? So week 1, what can we do? These are just a few ideas. These are things that we know work, we know are great. The caveat here is, how do we do it remotely, right? Yeah. Okay, so a couple things. First day, group pictures. Now, of course, being attuned to, some people might not want their photo shared on social media or within the group, or that might be private. So always asking, of course, is this something you mind sharing? Be very careful with that. So group pictures, a picture with your manager, your team. I love the avoiding isolation with a balance. Again, what is your employee's preference? Because some people need some time away from people for a little while. So I urge you to think about that lunchtime plans, right? Are you having lunch every single day? Are you going from meeting, lunch, meeting? When are you giving your employees a little bit of time to themselves? So I say avoid isolation with a little bit of balance there. You can avoid isolation as well with some shadowing. So have them shadow a coworker, even if it's not someone on their team, to get a sense of who all's in the office, even if it's 15, 20 minutes with somebody else. So start introducing those other departments, other colleagues. So the itinerary walkthrough, people want to know, what does this itinerary mean? So having a manager, when they first come in, walk through their first day with them, or maybe you do that beforehand. On their first week, or I would say before their first week, if there's any senior leadership that can send them an email, even if it's scripted. If you as HR, the hiring manager, can just remind a senior leader, hey, this person's starting tomorrow, this person started today, can you send them a note? Or here's a note you can send them, right? That just further, includes that employee. But again, always making sure it's authentic to your company. So if that senior leader is never going to talk to that person, if that's just part of your culture, then maybe that's not authentic to you. Establishing a work buddy, important obviously. If someone's too embarrassed to ask a question, or they don't want to ask it in a group or to their manager, they have someone they can lean on, right? So other week 1 ideas, I want to know what works for everybody else. Yeah.
We do the buddy program, but we've made a couple different buddies. We've made one that's just like a culture buddy. We purposely make that outside of their department to meet somebody new and get them out of their area.
Yeah.
And then we do a role buddy, which is someone that maybe has done their job before, or they'll work with a lot, so that way they could maybe filter some of the questions through them and not feel like they have to go to the manager on every silly question.
Yeah, I love that example actually. So having multiple types of buddies culture, maybe in your role, because then that buddy isn't kind of overwhelmed as well. So you kind of break up some of the support. Yeah.
We similarly, it's not formalized, but a lot of people relocate for our jobs, and so I've been kind of setting people up with like, oh, you want to live in Round Rock? We have people that live in Round Rock that have also
Love that.
recently relocated, so, let me set you up with them, and they can share tips or
Yeah.
apartment locators or whatever helps them kind of like feel like they can get a grasp on the relocating
Yeah, relocation assistance is great. And then also tips and places and let me take you out and let me show your family around or, right, yeah. I also like with isolation, coffee dates, basically. And you can do it virtually. I actually have done quite a few of those in my role at job.com, just to get to know other people. And we're all remote. So I'm like, bring your favorite mug because I'm going to ask you about it. I'm going to bring mine, right? And you can just have a 15-minute virtual meeting and you say, hey, who are you? What do you do? What's going on? Tell me about what does your day look like? What projects do you work on? A little bit about yourself. And it's simple, it's quick, and you can make it fun. You can facilitate some kind of fun aspects to that. But especially for virtual employees, they get off the Zoom call and then they're like, my next meeting's not for 2 hours. What do I do, right? So just filling that time can be helpful and facilitate relationships. Any other week one ideas that have worked for people? All right. Oh, one other thing, a welcome committee can help with some of those things as well. If you have volunteers, setting up a welcome committee so that people are actually dedicated to some of those things. And sometimes those are people who are willing to have those coffee dates. They want to, right? You're extroverted people sometimes, yeah.
On this,
Mhm.
we do have the lunch with just their direct team,
Mm.
but then in the afternoon, we have like tips, treats, or crumble for the whole company. So that at lunch, it's not so overwhelming with all of the company, but they come to, you can get them there with cookies.
Yeah,
So,
bring people
Yeah.
together with sweets and food, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we should typically, because we're remote, so I will send, like cookies or if I've got dietary restrictions.
Yes.
So I'll send a treat of their, like, that is in line with what they can eat, to their house by like 11 the morning of their first day.
Yeah, I love that. Offering, lunch delivered right to your door on behalf of the company or manager or your team or something like that. I love that. All right. So 90 days is typically our retention milestone, right? Of course, it might be different for everybody, 30 days, 60 days, but, we'll stick with 90 days. I would say whatever your retention milestone is, know it and then just manage to the measurement, manage against that measurement. So there are obviously things here that often we're relying on managers, right? We can't control everything, right? And we want people to have goal setting and we want people to have the right conversations and whatnot. But what I would say is control what you can control, work and manage with the variables. But you can help your managers by templating things, having structure, providing them support and resources, sending them resources, giving them some structure because they might not know what they're supposed to do with goal setting, right? So if you have templates available, I think a lot of us, you utilize those in our HR departments. I would say you can also ask for achievements. So go to your managers and say, hey, what achievements have your employees or your team accomplished this quarter or this month? And then take that information and go share it publicly with your company. You're not going to know the achievements to celebrate if they're not told to you. So go out there and ask your managers, what should we be celebrating? What's your team working on? Celebrating anniversaries and birthdays, of course, but that's usually once a year. So in the 90 days, celebrate, you've been here 1 month. Maybe there's some internal cultural things that you can do. You have exemplified our core values, this core value. That's awesome. You're officially, part of our team. You are living it day to day. So celebrating kind of cultural milestones can work too. With goal setting, I would also say, obviously, it's individualized with your manager and your employee. However, goal setting between your part of the company, your department, and that manager's business unit too. So we can say, as your business unit, what are your goals that your team is working on this quarter? Because then when you're going back to other job seekers and they're applying for a job in that area, you know what that team's priorities are, and you can help speak to that as far as culture goes. All right, 90 days. Ideas for 90 days. Are there any programs or initiatives that anybody has seen work? This is the tough one. I would say that first and foremost, it's paying attention and having a strategy and having resources available. I'll say Harvard Business Review, HBR, they have many newsletters and daily tips that you can sign up for. I have their daily management tip. And so it's just a simple email. It's a paragraph long. You can click on it, go to the article later. But I share that with my team if a good one comes through that's like, hey, share this with your teams. You can do that too. You can facilitate sharing management resources with your managers. Yeah,
Yeah, I did the management for the day. That's, I really like their newsletters.
HBR is great.
Yeah. What I think what we're doing right now is after, I think it's 90 days, and the team gets to meet, it's online, obviously, it's virtual, they get to meet with the CEO.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
the CEO, so it's like a Q&A, kind of like, hey, welcome on board, is there any questions, how can I help you, how's it been so far?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's great. So meeting with the CEO after a certain period of time to have just facilitate questions, relationship building, having the CEO, how can we support you, right? And that really makes it's a good question to ask, but it also makes the employee feel like, okay, I'm supported here. I love that. All right, we'll move on. So 1 year is typically the turnover, everything, 34%, I think it is, at least in 2017. 34% of turnover was in the first year. So we want to get these tenured employees because I think we all agree tenured employees are a higher net value to your bottom line. They give the quality to your organization. And obviously 1 year, once they meet that, that's typically when they understand their role, they're contributing, right? So we want to continue that. So 4 to 12 months, let's getting them to the 1 year mark. I think, obviously, again, all of these things, some of them, not all of them, rely on managers and your relationship with your managers and how you're providing them support and structure and resources. But you can have a role in this. So there's NPS surveys at the bottom, but I would say surveying your employees, it can be individualized within groups or full-wide, employee surveys. But gauging your workforce, asking questions like, how can the organization support you? Because that's an open-ended question, and they're going to give you a lot of information. We just did this at job.com, actually. Sending the feedback to the business units, the managers. I think that's pretty typical for HR departments. We can't control, how managers are working with their employees, but we can give them the best practices and then work directly with them to make sure our one-on-one's happening. What is your one-on-one and your performance evaluation strategy? Do you have one? If not, go look into that and start having conversations. Include leadership, include the managers, so you can create a performance evaluation program that was built by the people who are going to actually be giving the performance reviews, right? So 4 to 12 months, any other programs or ideas? Yeah.
So at my previous company, we did, every November was our yearly annual employee recognition luncheon. And so new hires would be invited to it, plus anyone who had a service award or earned any kind of education or certificates or something of that nature. It's just a nice little luncheon at a nice restaurant. But of course, it was when we were all back in the office.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wouldn't work right now, but it was really, really sweet. And the managers would come down and people would be, there would be an announcement made by the leader in the organization of that department. So that was something we did recently.
Yeah. I love any kind of awards and recognition and any way to just celebrate your employees. It doesn't have to be singling out the top performers. It can, you can shine lights on business groups, projects, people associated with projects, right, that are moving your organization forward. I said earlier, exemplifying core values. If you can set up any kind of form where anybody in the company can go and say, hey, this colleague is exemplifying this core value or moving us towards our mission here, and they can submit those, and then you somehow get that information to the employee to say, someone nominated you or said that you're going above and beyond, or you every day push your colleagues to challenge the status quo or whatever your core value is, right? Having something in place where colleagues can nominate and shine light on other people just brings people together. Yeah.
I want to touch on the feedback one. We were able to get a software tool, like a performance management tool that helps us with that, but even beforehand, we thinking about what HR can control
Mhm.
when you send them off to the managers. We even started with just putting calendar reminders for the first 90 days or even 6 months of like, hey, just a reminder, maybe if you haven't in a while, did you give Sarah some constructive feedback or praise? And sometimes it's an easy just reminder to put on a calendar or like a schedule later email.
Yes.
To help your managers think, oh yeah, I haven't talked to her.
Mm-hmm.
That's a red flag, you know.
Yep.
We
Yeah, it's simple. You don't need a system, right? You could do that today. When you hire a person, you have 6 reminders that you need to go on put on someone's calendar, and that's just part of the checklist of a new hire, right? And so you go out, you put it on their calendars. I love that. You can also ask, how did your performance evaluation go? How did that meeting go? How did your one-on-one go? Give us feedback. And if they haven't done it, then they say, oh, I haven't done it. And then you say, okay, well, when you do it, please tell us how it went. What's the feedback? And then it creates a little bit of accountability there. Yeah. All right. I know we're close on time, so I'm wrapping it up here soon. So we have, sorry about the text there, font changed as we put it on a new computer. So just like dating and marriage, right? So we have you're impressing your employee or job seekers, and then after a year, that's really how it is. After you're married, that's really how it is. You have, some people are laughing about it. 1 year, that's really the most honest form of your employee and your company, right? You've built a foundation of trust. Are they who they say they are? Is the candidate who they say they are, right? There's a shared commitment towards the company as well by that time. There's good days and there's bad days, but it's built on the foundation of trust, you know? So now we keep this going. We have them, they're here, we're all working towards the same goal. So what are some of the things you can do? I really like, so we talk about perks. This is a big one. What are the real perks that people want, right? So if you have a lot of families, do you have a travel assistant that can just give you a 15% discount at Disney World? Workout programs. If you have like a gym on site, that's great. But what if people don't want to work out on site? Do you give them a $40 incentive or just a $40 to go have a gym membership somewhere else? Well, that person might work out at home, but now they have $40 in their pocket, and they still work out at home, but they thank you for that, right? I would encourage you to ask people and survey, what do you do with your PTO? Because then that's going to inform you, what kind of perks and support can we give people when they take PTO? And have an idea, do people take vacations? Well, then maybe if 85% of people take vacations on their PTO, then what kind of vacation packages can we partner with, right? So I think just asking the question, what do people do with their PTO? I like also learning and development, obviously, is great. People like that. Come up with a professional development committee. Again, another way to bring people from other organizations or other parts of the organization together. And you're not the ones planning the professional development, right? It takes some effort and work off you. But then it's also bringing people in these different units and teams. They're getting feedback from colleagues, and they can bring what the company truly wants to the table and then plan professional development learning opportunities for the organization. So again, it's always just asking, what do people really want? How are we meeting their needs? What's authentic to the people who work at our company? A long-term plan for continued feedback. I think that's important. Again, are we surveying? Are we getting feedback from managers? How are we getting feedback? If you have a strategy in place and a plan to get it, then just follow the plan. But a lot of times we don't have any plan at all. All right, so of course we have travel assistance, education, all that other stuff that everybody would love to implement. But anything else for long-term retention that you want to point out that your company does, you've seen other places? And then we'll wrap it up from there. Yeah.
We have a wellness reimbursement program where, because not everyone gym memberships, even going skiing, massages, anything up to $500 per year.
See, I love that. Yeah, reimbursements for things that they're choosing to do, right? So you have an allotment, maybe some qualifiers, but people are telling you what's important to them in their work-life balance and for their wellness. Yeah.
Just really quick, how did you track that? And we can connect afterwards,
Yeah.
but that's what we struggle with is tracking.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's make sure we connect. Yeah.
Just on that point regarding the perks, a lot of employers struggle tracking, when they give an allowance, tracking where the money's going
Right.
for. What they're doing right now is implementing something called life spending accounts. So that's something where you can actually list, if you're gonna use that money, it has to go to gym membership. And there's more flexibility to it than just, a health spending account is just for health, qualifying expenditures. So lifestyle spending accounts, that's something that you should definitely look into.
Love it. Thank you. Lifestyle spending accounts.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Here.
Our company does tuition assistance programs,
Uh-huh.
so as they move along each year, we provide more and more tuition assistance, so it moves from $75 up to $150 per month.
Okay. So it's
Over a
tiered
period of
almost.
time, So over a 5-year period of time.
Okay, great. Yeah, programs tuition assistance. Yeah, that's based on you get education and you're here, and then you have more and more.
If you come in with student debt.
Oh, okay, if you come in with student.
I'm sorry, it's student loan assistance.
Gotcha. Yep. So paying off. Yep.
Another one, this company I was with, they had really cool perks, and another one that they did is if you volunteer hours towards an organization, every 15 hours you volunteer, they would donate $500 to the organization.
Okay.
So I have a Girl Scout troop, and so I was
Yeah.
able to collect money that way.
Yeah, that's
for that purpose, because I volunteered so much. The cap was $2,000, but still, that just helped promote, people to go out
and volunteer in the community. That's wonderful. Again, like meeting people with what they actually do and want to do. Right? Yeah.
We actually, for part of our wellness promotion, we offer all of our colleagues a Headspace app for free. So that's pretty cool.
Again, too, for virtual, right? That's something they can do in their home, right? I love that. All right, am I at time now? I think so, almost. Okay, so really all of this is about establishing your brand, being authentic to who you are, and meeting the needs of your actual employees and job seekers from end to end, and really being authentic to you. Again, recruitment marketing, it's about pay and benefits and all of that, but it's really about the stories you share, the experiences you share, and then making sure it's truly authentic to who you are. There is a great book recommendation here as well, People Over Profit. A little out of time here, but it's really about that, celebrating, not penalizing, balancing your workplace culture, and I think that it could help even some leadership if you share that book with leadership and management. So yeah. Thank you. There were a few questions in the app. I have notes on that I was going to address. I have some notes for responses. I'll type them into the app if you put. I know one of them was personal brand, company brand, sharing on LinkedIn. I'm happy to continue talking, but feel free to leave because I know there's another session, I think, right now. So,
An hour.
yeah. Okay, great.
Will you go back, please?
Yeah, sure.
And then we do need the slide for the.
Oh, yes, credits. Sorry. Yeah. Credits. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the feedback. Thanks.